Welcome back to another episode of Unlocked with Daryl L. Davis. Um, the other day, someone asked us, before we go there, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the contents of our video. We'll be bringing you a lot of different news from lot of different avenues. But again, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the contents of our videos. Many of you know that we spent 18 years, 6 months, 3 weeks, and 5 days in that concrete jungle in what they call the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. We was never in TDC. That's a whole different entity from TDCJID. Uh, TDC was called the Texas Department of Corrections. It was a whole different animal than the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institution Division. But the other day, someone asked me, who was the meanest man that you ever seen in prison? The meanest guy. And immediately, Chris Dumache came to my mind. The Dumaches are out of Houston, Texas. And in 1976, James Dumache and Chris Dumache robbed a pizza parlor, Pizza Hut in Houston, and killed the employees. But these brothers here were so notorious that at 14 years old, James went to juvenile for negligent homicide. At 14, they come up pretty rough. After being convicted of the 1976 Pizza Hut robbery, James was sentenced to death. Chris received a life sentence. Now, this was way before my time in the criminal past, but to start you off, that I'm going to bring you up to date to where I was able to come face to face with one of the most dangerous men in the state of Texas. Now, mind me that when you're dealing with a prison system, regardless of what state it's in or wherever it's at, you're dealing with a mass incarceration of men and women. But we're not going to speak on the women at this moment. We're just going to stay with the men. 90% of the men that's incarcerated are alpha males. Very aggressive, pet bulldog type males that's in the Texas prison system or in many prison systems around the United States of America. However, when you throw us all in there together, all these meals, what are we going to eat on? Because many of us done already preyed on the weak. We done preyed on everything that was available to us to prey on in society. We done ate on every beta male, every beta female, every alpha female. So we are the worst of the worst of the worst in society eyes. So when you throw us all in there together, all we had to do was eat on each other. We become madder and madder and madder. And then you taking guys from Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Waco, these little small towns around here, the Tyler, Longview, Cartridge, Nacogdoches, they have to click together and they call East Texas. Because of the predatory just begin to just eat and just take over, begin to feast. And it's so bad that Texas had 3 prisons that was once ranked in the top 10 as being the most dangerous prisons in the United States of America. And guess what? I just happen to have a taste of all 3 of them. Charles T. Turrell unit. When it was Charles T. Turrell unit, it's Alan B. Polunsky now. That was the most dangerous unit in the state of Texas at one time. The Robertson unit. It's in Abilene, Texas. Very vicious unit. It was ranked 5 or 6 in the nation. James V. Allred is in Wichita. It sits in Iowa Park, but the outskirts of Wichita Falls, Texas. These are 3 of the most deadliest prisons that was in the United States of America for quite some time. And my stubbornness got me the taste of all of them. And I'm going to go back and share these with you. I entered prison in 1997. And from the county jail to the entering of prison, I used to hear the name Dumache. Dumache. Man, the Dumache, the meanest man on Texas death row. Dumache, James Dumache, they call him Big Doom. Doom. He's so bad that he tears toilets out of the wall. He do 5,000 push-ups a day. This is a death row inmate. I heard these kind of stories, but I'm not paying no attention to them because I'm trying to fight for my life. I never want to go down there to witness none of this here that they telling me that's going on in prison, right? However, once I got to prison, this story about this legend, Dumache, began to go all throughout the system, and I quickly learned that word travels in prison because inmates are always on a bus. So I began to research, and by this time, Dumache was executed. James Dumache was executed in 1992. But before he was executed, he was ferocious. His brother Chris Dumache, had gotten a life sentence. And they had been in prison since the early 80s. I believe they were ones to say they was convicted in maybe 77 or 78. And James had got his case overturned in 1981. But they retried him and give him the death penalty again. But once I got down there, I began to research the Dumache's cases. Because I used to hear their name a lot, and I was always in the law library. And they had one guy that was a kung fu expert on a unit with Dumache. This is when they had death row over on Ellis unit in Huntsville, Texas. And the dude was a martial art expert. And he would go around and take people's money with fake legal work. He called himself a writ writer. A writ writer is someone in prison that file grievances for people, work on their cases, file lawsuits. It's called litigators. And I am one of them, litigator, writ writer, as they would say. I learned a lot about the legal system from being incarcerated. Well, as I began to study James Dumache, I began to see that he was he was raw. Well, no one like him ever come to the Texas prison. As I say, he was labeled the meanest man on Texas death row. Well, the guy, I can't think his name. What's that guy's name? Man, I should have had my the guy name. I can't think his name. I want to say his name was Salsa or something. Nevertheless, he began to pump other inmates out, taking their litigation, taking advantage of them, getting money from them, not doing their legal work, and things of that nature. And in prison, you always have bullies. Remember what I said, you got alpha males that's preying on other alpha males. So it's the baddest of the baddest. So this guy was so bad, and back then they didn't have many units like they have today. And it was TDC then, Texas Department of Corrections. So they threw this guy on death row with these death row inmates. So every inmate in prison want hope. You can sell them a dream. You can sell them ice in Alaska. Um, and this guy sold Doom a dream. And at that time, in the Texas Department of Correction, they would feed you. They would feed you good, but you going to work, but they would feed you. And they were getting pork chops like this here back then. When I made it in 1997, the pork chop was about like that. They were getting small. Now they about like that, you know. And it's very thin. But back then, they was getting pork chops like this here. No exaggeration, people. They was feeding them. But in that pork chop, they had a T-bone in that pork chop. T-bone about that long. So Big Doom got his T-bone out of his pork chop, and he sharpened it up. He sharpened it up and made him a weapon. So when they take you to what they call the day room area, they lock you in. This is an old unit, probably built back in the early 1900s. And once you lock in, you can't come out because another inmate probably done lock you in, which was called a turnkey. The inmates had control over the prison system in the TDC days. However, that was changed up under what the Ruiz Act, and we'll get to that during this show. But back to Big Doom. The dude jacked Big Doom for his legal money at that time. I don't know how much it was, but whatever it was, it's the principle of the thing. And he had to know the reputation of Big Doom because Big Doom had been tearing toilets up out of the wall, concrete wall, turned steel. I turned iron bunks down. This man used to do 4,000-5,000 push-ups a day. Every time that, so anyway, I'm going to go to that later. Doom caught him in the day room and hit him in the neck with that T-bone. And from my understanding, the blood began to gush out his neck. He hit the joker. So all Big Doom had to do was walk away, and the guy was a dead man. But they said Big Doom put that T-bone in him 27 more times, just putting that T-bone in him until he was dead. Said Big Doom went to the door, yelled down the run, and said, "Come get him." They took Big Doom to court, gave him 15 years, and sent him on back. Before they wind up executing Big Doom, he had attacked multiple guards, raped multiple inmates on death row. As I stated before, he was labeled the meanest man on Texas death row. I never had an opportunity to meet Big Doom. As I stated, he was executed in 1992. But the meanest man I ever come to in the state of Texas prison system was his brother Christopher Dumache. And I had already been on two of the worstest units in the state of Texas when I came face to face with Chris Dumache. I was down on the Ramsey unit, which was Ramsey 2 at the time. It's now the Stringfellow. And that's a 10,000, 12,000 acre unit. And I was down there. And 315 pounds, couldn't get on the trailer to go to work, couldn't get off of it either, right? So I began to get major cases down there. At that time, I didn't know anything about no major case. And mind me that Ramsey 2 was a minimum only unit, meaning it only had one fence around it. And they fed good, but they had very few jobs on this unit. I inherit that unit from crying every day. Uh, a lieutenant in Huntsville. I wanted to go to Darrington so bad. Lieutenant in Huntsville, he told me, he said, where you from? I said, Houston. He said, I'm pretty sure you miss your people. He said, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go to Darrington. He said, I'm going to get you to go to Darrington. He said, in the morning, I'll be in classification. Well, this is like about 4:35 in the afternoon. So I'm thinking the white man lying to me. Classification gonna be in the morning, 8 o'clock. And you finna get ready. You ain't getting off to 10. How you gonna be in classification? But nevertheless, I'm listening to the white guy. The next day, I go to classification and the white guy's down there in classification. He came out, he said, man, I apologize to you. I won't be able to get you to go to Darrington, but I think I got you something better. He said, how about Ramsey too? And I said, oh, no. That's where them funny boys at. He said, funny boys? I said, yeah, they got homosexuals over there on that unit. I said, oh. He said, no, they're not over there anymore. He said, they are all moved to Styles unit. He said, Ramsey 2 is a nice small unit. It's about a 900-man unit. It'll be good for you. He said, and it's a minimum only unit. And it's right there by Darrington, so you're still right there at home. So I said, okay. And I had no choice but to go. I'm in prison, right? So I went down there, and my stubbornness, not want to be there, started to bump my head. I'm 315 pounds, got about 15 bags of commissary. I get off the bus at Ramsey 2. And you had this guy. Big guy. Where you from? Why? What does that matter? Boy, when you leave out of here, you're going to be proud of yourself. You're going to be slim and trim. They're going to put you in the field. I'm not going no field. I'm in the medical squad. I got restrictions. Now you ain't got no restriction no more, big guy. You on Ramsey 2 unit. So I didn't know what the guy was talking about. But he was talking about they were finna put my ass in that old squad. One Aggie, please, right? I got to go out and pick cotton, chop grass, but that's another story. I told you that story about me coming to minimum in unit because I began to get cases for not being able to work, which dropped my custody to a medium custody level. And in prison, you have several custodies. On the, I don't know how to say this here, but you have minimum custody, you have medium custody, you have close custody, and you have SEG. Those are 4 different custodies of a population. Not population, but of a population. And the reason I say of a population, because when you have SEG, you have SEGs. You have different levels of SEG. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. When you in SEG, you in your cell for 24 hours a day. Now, on custody level, minimum custody, you run around all day, they rack you up at night if you don't have a job. Medium custody, you come out for 2 hours a day, and you're locked up in your cell 22 hours a day. Or it may come out 3 hours a day on medium custody. I only did medium custody 6 months one time. And then you have closed custody where you're locked up all day, every day, right? So that's what I'm saying, but I didn't know how I would address that, because you got different custodies in population and you have different custodies in SEG. Now that I cleared that up, I was minimum custody, meaning I could go and come as I please. And by me being on a minimum only unit, I was still in there with predators, but they was kind of like the nice predators. in a way. They was more, whatever. Uh, but they wasn't looked on as being just that hardcore type criminal at this time. So I lost my custody on Ramsey 2. And that pissed a lot of people off because they shipped me from Rochelle, Texas, clean up to Wichita Falls in one day. One day they took me from Rochelle, Texas to Wichita Falls. And when they put me up there, I'm on medium custody on one of the most violent units in the state of Texas, and I don't know it. That's where my journey began again, because that's another story. I take you back there with the East Ham unit when I first went in prison in 97. So when I got to this unit, I had no business in prison, number one. Number two, I have no business way out here in West Texas, away from whoever could come see me, right? So now I'm trying to find a way to get back. And they had what they called a Jew change. In my religion, I was always up under Christianity. But in prison, we control the moves by religion, because it's one thing they cannot deny you is your religion on your travel card. So I began to hear these rumors about, say, man, I'm finna get ready to go to Daryl, man, Daryl. So now I'm tuned in because remember, I'm trying to get to Daryl. Well, how do you get to Daryl? Just change your travel card to Judaism. What? Yeah, put Judaism on your card. So now I got to try to get to the chaplain office to put Judaism on my card. So that's another story. But that's what I began to do. And they shipped me from All Red to the Robinson unit. Again, I'm trying to head back down south to get to Darrington, right? So they called home to it. It don't take white folk long, because a nigga gonna tell you he'll give it up to plan. So they found a rabbi that could come to the Robinson unit and hold Jewish services out there. So they stopped it, right? Remember, I'm still on medium custody now, and I'm on another dangerous unit in the state of Texas. It was so dangerous, it was killings on there every freaking week. They were killing. They would lock this unit, and this was before we got telephones in there. They would kill you, so you wouldn't even have an opportunity to come to warn your people not to come that weekend, because the unit was gonna be locked down for visitation. So it happened about 3 weeks in a row, and I'm already frustrated and aggravated. I'm not no killer. I'm just a little punk from East Texas. Not no homosexual punk now. Let's clear that up. But just a little coward lamb in here with these boys that I don't know what to do. And it's only because of God's amazing grace that I wasn't take advantage of. I wasn't no wimp now. I was just in a foreign land. But I knew how to handle myself. My asshole still a virgin. You hear me? Never participated in homosexuality, never got no tattoo, and never became a gang member. And that's not by my might. Now, when I got stuck on the Robinson unit, in the midst of all these killings and all this Mexican gang, the Texas Senate would take, they was already there, but they had this new gang called Tongo Blast that was coming to effect, and they were making their way through, and them Mexicans were putting them knives in each other over there, and they were killing off a lot of what they would call the RUs, right? I don't know what the RU stand for, I just know it was some bullshit. All them gangs were bullshit, and I'm gonna tell you about that too. So anyway, I had to get back down south. So my mother went to the doctor and got the doctor to write her a letter saying that she couldn't travel. Well, my mother was in her 60s at that time. So, of course it would be difficult, because she hadn't been robbed yet, so she hadn't lost a leg. We're talking about 2000, right? So in 2000, when she got the letter to come see me, I took it to classification, and by me, my disciplinary record was approved. I never had a bad disciplinary record. I was just being written up because I couldn't go out there and pick that cotton. I'm 315 pounds, and every day I had to pick 315 pounds of cotton, or I couldn't come in. It was can't back then. That's what they call it. Can't see when you get out, can't see when you come in, right? It was dark and I had to get out there, but I always had to stay a little long and have help because I had to have other people to help me get my quota. Oh man, it was a turn time. So that's when I laid it down in Ramsey 2 down there in Rochelle. So at the Robinson unit, I hadn't had a job since then because on medium custody you don't work. You just sit around the part all day or whatever. You go to lay-ins, you go to visitation, you do all this here. But very few people have a job. No sign jobs. You got some of them that run around with the broom, find out what they need to know, and things of that nature. So when I get to Robinson, the warden likes me. She see my record. I ain't been in no trouble, no masturbation, nothing like that. So the woman tell me, she said, give me 30 days on medium custody. I'm going to bring you back up and I'm going to give you your custody back. But I had went all the way to the bottom as far as my line class. I went in as a line 1, remember? And I never made it to S4. So my line 1 went all the way to a line 3. So I'm at the bottom of the barrel in my class. And I'm in custody, I'm medium custody. But in 30 days, she would give me my custody back, but I had to wait 1 year for my line class back. So in 30 days, she moved me back to MI, minimum custody. So I'm on the unit doing my thing, and that wasn't much, but I wasn't locked up all day. So now I get me a job working on the sidewalk. While I'm working on the sidewalk, some situation transpired to where I began to see inmate officers' relationships develop, right? That has nothing to do with me at this point. So I get pulled into it as keeping jiggers for an officer and an inmate. And this was a police inmate. This white woman was a straight up police. You do not go fucking with this white woman for shit. So this black dude lamping around the corner. He said, look out, Major. I said, what? He said, keep jiggers for me. He said, I'm finna go over there with my girlfriend. I said, who? So I named the white lady. I said, man, you going to jail, miss, with that white woman. I said, I don't want no parts of that. So I said, man, he said, that's my woman, man. He said, I'm going to break you off and I'm going to give you so and so, so and so. I said, man, you finna go to jail over there, miss, with that white woman. So I left. And I guess he went over there and told the white woman what I told him. So the white woman called me. And she said, hey, you stay right here and I'm going back here with him. And if somebody come, you hit that door. One time. And I'm looking at the white woman. I'm scared to death. What these people finna get me into? So they went back there and they stayed. And when they came out, she told me, she sent me in there to clean up. I went in there and cleaned up. She sent me down to the park. So I was finna get pulled into something that I didn't want to be in. Now, many inmates would have loved that opportunity, but I didn't. And God saved me from that. Because remember, my mother had went to the doctor to get me moved closer to home. And the next day, I'm on the bus smoking. They sent me to Charles T. Turl Unit in Livingston, Texas in 2000. Now they had just moved Death Row over to that unit because of an escape from Ellis Unit with Martin Guru and Henry Dunn and all those guys. I think it wasn't the Texas 7. uh, because the Texas 7 escaped from a Corner unit. This was another group, uh, well, death row inmates that escaped from death row that got out. They wasn't, they was apprehended rather quickly. All except Guru. I think they found him in the river a week or so later. So when I go to Turl unit and has death row on it, uh, immediately I go back to the library. I'm trying to get unassigned. I don't want to work in prison. Only thing I want to do is go to the law library and the chapel. That's it. Uh, but I had the opportunity to go back on death row to meet some of those guys, some of the most notorious killers in the state of Texas. Uh, Peter Cantu, one of the most gruesome killers out of Houston, Texas. Come face to face with him and talk to him on death row about his case. Thomas Miller L. Out of Dallas, Texas. Me and him still good friends today. Russo out of Tyler, visit him on death row. I visit many men that had death penalty cases. Some of them have been executed. But once I get on this unit, I hear Dumache, Chris Dumache. And what I used to hear about Chris Dumache was he used to knock you out and fuck you. You go to the store and he'll tell you sit that bag down and get on down that sidewalk. And everybody expected he was the meanest man that I ever come in contact with in the Texas prison system, in the TDCJID. Chris was about 6'10", weighed over 300, big rascal. But he had been locked up since the 70s. And I run into him in 2000, so he getting old now. But he still carried a lot of weight. And God gave me favor in prison with a lot of people. And Chris Dumache was one of them. In fact, Chris took me up under his wing, so to speak. And he would always tell me, he said, you see that dude over there? Yeah. Say, you can't whoop him. You don't think. I look at him. I'm thinking, he trying to wire some shit up between me and another guy. He said, but you can always beat him with your pen. See, they can't think. He said, I see you all the time walking around here. You don't bother nobody. He said, you always in that law library. He said, they say that you a snitch. He said, they say you that. He said, because they're afraid of you. And I never understood that, what he was saying, until it dawned on me that you do things that people don't do, or people afraid to do. But I seen Big Chris take people's sacks. I seen Big Chris lay down the law a lot of time. I seen him slap one boy so hard that I think it was about 2 days before he woke up. Officers were scared of this dude. This dude could go anywhere on the unit, whenever he wanted, whatever time he wanted. If he felt like he wanted to go to that kitchen at 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, he gonna hit that door. He gonna go down to the kitchen, he gonna fix him something to eat, he gonna come on back. The nigga was scary. Not as in scared somebody was gonna do to him, but scary you didn't want to have nothing to do with it. But he took to me, and he taught me a lot. And they shipped Big Dude somewhere. And that's when I had my issues with them MWs on the Allen B. Pulaski unit because it had just changed names. I never knew a place could change names and addresses because when it was Charles T. Turl unit, it was one address, and when it became Allen B. Pulaski unit, it became another address on the same road, 350 South, Livingston, Texas. I never understood that because the property never changed. But yeah, Christopher Dumache uh, was the meanest man that I ever came in contact with in the state of Texas. And he lived up to his reputation. Uh, I believe Chris got out in him. I don't know when he got out, but he's out. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Big Chris passed in about 2018. I was trying to stay in contact with a lot of people that were good to me. I never spoke to Chris outside those walls. But yeah, shout out to Chris's family, whoever you are down there in that Houston, Texas, man. He was a good dude. He was a dangerous dude. He was good to me. I never caused no problem. I never kissed no one's ass in prison. Whoever you were, no officer, no warden, and definitely not an inmate. And it's only a very few inmates that I ever had respect for, and he's at the top of the list. Very dangerous guy, very dangerous guy. But if that's him, he is dead. May his soul rest in peace. And I thank God for giving me favor with him. Because I was on some a unit with some dangerous guys, and with no remorse about anything. I was on the unit, that Charles T. Turl unit. We had a guy that played an organ, keyboard that was in our choir. I say our choir. He wasn't in our choir because I was in the Sunday church services. But the Protestant church service I used to go to on Saturdays, and he played the keyboard. And he killed his wife and rode around in the front seat with a hat on for about 3 or 4 days before they found him. So yeah, I have been on some units with some notorious people. At breakfast one morning at 2:30 in the morning, I'm eating breakfast, and a guy get his brains busted out right beside me, and all his brains fly over on me while I'm trying to eat my breakfast. Yeah, I have seen some things, and I've been around some dangerous men in there, but none of them more dangerous than the Dumache brothers. And once again, I never had an opportunity to meet James Dumache. He was executed before I got there, but he did some justice to not only his fellow inmates but the officers as well. And when they finally was able to put him to sleep, may his soul rest in peace. He go down as the meanest man ever in the Texas death row. And his brother Chris Dumache was the meanest man that ever walked the halls of a Texas prison. He was another one that would do at least 3,000-4,000 push-ups a day. He might didn't get to the 5,000 mark, but every day this man would just sit up there and do push-ups and push-ups and push-ups, and he would knock you out and fuck you and take your commissary. People feared when Chris walked them hallways. Didn't want no part of that. Very dangerous man. I had Andre Sloan, another one out of Houston, mass killer. Andre Sloan took to me. His mother, Billy Sloan, I don't know if Miss Billy's still living, but shout out to the Sloan family. His brother, Lorenzo, but yeah, Sloan, mass killer. Went and killed multiple people at one time, 3, 4. When I was down there in 2010, and Sloan had been in prison for a while, they called him back for another capital murder in 2010. So I was locked up with some of the worst in the state of Texas. And I was blessed to be in that position. If I was going to be incarcerated, I was around some of the beasties of the beast. So if anybody have a problem with the way I communicate and the way I speak, uh, don't look at me as being the being. Kind of take it on what I have been through and what I have seen throughout my journey in this lifetime. I mean no one no harm. I was a little spoiled fat kid from North Tyler in East Texas that didn't know nothing, that thought he knew everything, but was through in the concrete jungle. I was just a piece of meat that was doing that with them lambs. And by the grace of God, I didn't come out eating up. Not by my might, people, but by God's amazing grace. He allowed Daryl L. Davis to come out that jungle after doing 18 years, 6 months, 3 weeks, and 5 days to try and become a productive citizen in the state of Texas, of the United States of America. Man, we're going to bring y'all some more good content, and we just ask y'all to keep sharing whatever you want to talk about that you think that we have experienced in that prison system or that you want to know about. Let us know, man. We be glad to expose you to it, as they say. And remember to like, share, and to subscribe to this channel. If you know anybody that want to do any more editing work, want to shoot us while we out on location, drop us a content and comment on these videos. Come on in and share this thing with the people that belong to all of y'all too. Hey man, it's Unlocked with Daryl L. Davis, and we're gonna get right back at you with some more prison. And it ain't gonna always be no bullshit. Because guess what? You deserve to know what's going on. And we got you.